Hello, Night Nation. Trey Strelko here. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Tonight, the big UCF yard sale is back. Jacob Harris in the second round of the NFL draft next week. We discuss and we go down memory lane with an original UCF football player. Let us welcome in the Sons of UCF, Adam and Mike, a couple of guys moving up on the draft boards.
Yeah, I'm a sleeper, Trace. I mean, I'm hoping to get something in the late rounds, just hang on for a team for a while. I don't have the biceps of Mike, so I don't know that I have a long-term career, but I know Mike's got a Spartan race this week, so if Mike can do well there, maybe that improves his draft stock.
Yeah, I just had my pro day last week when I did the 5K. I did okay there. So now I got the combine coming up this week. Maybe I can raise myself another round or two.
By the way, showing off the biceps in the photos. And I heard on the podcast this week, I don't understand what happened with the times that Jan Britt and I submitted, but we had 23:55, Mike. What was yours?
It was 23:56, but remember, I ran a little bit further than I needed to, so technically, I still got you.
Well, 3.12?
Yeah, but it's supposed to be 3.10.
We went 3.1.
Can we confirm that? Hold on. Did we confirm that? I don't know that anyone really knows the 5K time or the 5K distance.
We heard 3.12. We went 3.12. The time, 23:55. I got to tell you, Britt, very fast right there at the end.
Who is driving?
All in good fun. And as you can tell from the Alumni Association, the Palm Beach chapter, they raise thousands of dollars for scholarships. So that is the most important part.
Yeah, it was a great cause, man. And I had a lot of fun doing it. We had a bunch of people in our group, the Sons of UCF group, and we did pretty well on it. So I'm happy with the way everything turned out.
Definitely. Well, yes, Adam?
I think Luis Vasquez, Mike, we've decided is a hat winner. Yeah. For his, I guess he finished second after you, of course. I'm sure you'll mention that later on. So I think Luis Vasquez has won the Sons of UCF hat for the fastest time. So, Luis, if you're listening, watching, following, live, whatever, get in touch with us. We'll make sure we get you your hat.
I've been in contact with Luis. He gave me his address already. I just need to send it out.
Oh, there you go. So it's all on you. Perfect.
Congratulations, Luis. All right. How about UCF announcing today the big yard sale Saturday, May 8th, beginning at 1 p.m. Of course, the biggest dollar donors get to go first, get to pick through everything, and then everybody else down the line. What would be the item that you would want if it were there?
Look, I've been talking about a soccer jersey. I would love one of those gray, silver with the black kind of like stripes through them soccer jerseys. That would be probably my ideal, but I don't know what we have. So I'm also a shoe guy. I can't wear a shoe right now on one foot, but if they have a left shoe that's laying around, I would take that too.
I'd probably just go for the coolest jersey I saw, or maybe a Dylan Gabriel one or a space one. Other than that, I don't know. A helmet, but the helmet's a little pricey. I don't know if I'd spend that much money on a helmet.
How much would you go on a helmet?
I mean, I have nowhere to put the helmet is the problem. I'd have to put it here. I guess I could use it on my set here, but other than that, I got nowhere else to put it in the house. I don't know. I'd put it $100. Other than that, I don't really need one.
You're not getting
a helmet $100.
No, I know. That's why I'm not getting one.
Yeah. Well, cost seg with a great question here. Is there going to be a lot of leftover Hypel swag on sale? Anybody?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Those shackets might be a little big for us anyway, right?
Eric Edwards wants a camo baseball jersey, and Libby apparently hit the gold mine last time. Got a lot of great stuff.
She did get some stuff. Libby, you got some shoes, didn't you? Didn't you get a basketball player's shoes or a jersey or something like that from the last time? Oh, there she goes. We got a basketball jersey. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go soccer. If anyone sees a soccer jersey laying around, just let me know. I don't know if I'll make it out there for that, but you know where to find me.
A game-worn basketball jersey, you got to be like 6'5" for it to fit you properly. Otherwise, what are you gonna do? I guess you can frame it, but not too many people can walk around in a 6 foot.
I'm sorry. I've got a call. Bring out the chickens here. You're going to dispute wearing a tank top, Mike. There's nobody buying this right now. Okay, there's nobody buying that right now.
The jersey will go down to my ankles, is what I'm saying. It's going to be way too
long. It'll show your biceps, right?
I don't even know about that. It might hang open too much because it's too big. Okay. I got to wear a medium. I need a size medium to show these puppies off.
Oh, boy.
Maybe it's a BJ Taylor laying around or something. I don't know. We'll find something for you.
Avery Diggs merchandise now available. Again, Saturday, May 8th, beginning at 1 p.m. Other big news coming from football this week. Defensive tackle Ricky Barber transferring in from Western Kentucky. So Gus Malzahn continues to attract transfers. What do we think of this name and this position coming to UCF?
I like it, Trace. And here's the thing. He keyword, be one of the most impactful transfers we have. So only 2 years at Western Kentucky, 58 tackles, 7 TFLs, 5 sacks. For comparison, 4 years at Auburn, Big Cat, 56 tackles, 11.5 TFLs, 10 sacks. So essentially, after 2 years, Ricky Barber right in line with Big Cat stats. I know Western Kentucky and Auburn, slightly different. Obviously, Mark Anthony Richards did not play pretty much at all. I think he had 20 carries total, so he may be a wild card there. But I really like this kid. He seems like a really good, energetic player. Obviously, he's got some familiarity with the coaching staff. So I think this could be a really good, sneaky acquisition on our part.
Usually new coaches, you got to give them a year or two to get their players in, right? Well, now with the way the transfer portal is working, Malzahn's working it hard, and he's getting all his guys in now. I love it, and this guy seems like an impact player. I think he's got 4 years of eligibility left, so we can see a full career out of this kid.
For me, it's still Big Cat Bryant that I think can have the most impact in his first year. So do you agree with that, or Adam, are you going with Barber?
Well, first year and only year, right?
Big Cat?
Yeah, so I think that's the challenge is Barber's going to be around hopefully for multiple seasons. So I think that if you're going to go long-term play, if you're going to go a 1 year sample size, obviously Big Cat has experience. Big Cat's played in the SEC. I imagine he's going to eat up like Tulane offensive linemen for lunch. But, all told end of the career, I think Ricky Barber may just be there. I don't know. Something about it, his tape seems really exciting.
And every time I hear the name, I was telling you pregame, every time I hear Ricky Barber, I think Ricky Bobby. And we know his philosophy. If you're not first, you're last. I like him. He sounds like a player, man. He looks like he came over with Coach Martin from Western Kentucky, right? And so we already have a coach that's familiar with him. I think that can only help.
So we are 1 week away from the NFL draft. I guess a little bit back to normal after last year's NFL draft. COVID impacted everybody in their homes. I asked on Twitter @SignPez, with the draft 1 week away, which UCF player, what round will be the first UCF player picked? First round, 25% of respondents said first round, 67% said second round, 8% said third round. UCF putting out a social media post this week saying, could UCF have 3 players in the top 100? What do you guys think? Highest round for you?
Give me Aaron Robinson, late first round sleeper in a hot take.
I'm going to stick with my Richie Grant pick to be the first guy off the board. Maybe late second round. I don't know if we're going to. I don't think anybody's going first round unless you say it's like it's a surprise. But maybe second round, maybe even to the third. I think I actually voted third round in this poll.
I'm going to go second round, and I think it's Aaron Robinson. So some of the respondents on this poll, I decided to reach out to this morning and invite onto the show for a little counterpoint. Brian W. Peterson responded to the poll by saying Jacob Harris late in the second round, and our friend JP Gilbert said, this is madness. Let us bring in the guys, UCF alums, longtime supporters of the Sons of UCF. Brian, let's begin with you. Is this a little in jest, or were you just really bought into Pro Day?
Well, in true Suns fashion, I thought I would go ahead and have a little reckless speculation of my own and throw Jacob Harris's name out there. With all that being said, I really do think he could be a draft sleeper that we're not aware of. Well, not that we're not aware of, that some people may be surprised to see him go before some others.
JP, the counter?
I don't know what word to use. Ridiculous, preposterous. And I really like Brian. Brian's a really smart guy. I know him from when we went to UCF. The guy was, I don't know if you guys know this, he was student body president at UCF. So when I see something that ridiculous, I wanted to do a wellness check on him because I was I don't know if his eyes were working properly because the Jacob Harris I saw looks like the guy from the commercials that fumbles all over the place, is dropping things all over the place. But I don't know if it's going to happen in the second round.
I will throw out that Jacob Harris has been graded pretty well after his pro day. He's got the deliverables that you would like to see in an NFL player. The scouts really like what they see out of him. His speed, his size is a really big factor. And more importantly, he can play both wide receiver and tight end. So he's got some flexibility that they might want to see out of their players they're drafting.
Brian, how do we know he can play tight end? We didn't have any real tight ends in general. How do we know that Jacob Harris can actually play tight end in the NFL?
He can just say, I was part of the Heupel system and we didn't use tight ends, therefore you haven't seen me play tight end.
So if Al Davis was still alive, God rest his soul, we know Jacob Harris would be going in the first round. Listen, 4'3", guys, 6'5". He's a freak. He's a freak of nature. As a matter of fact, I got this take for you guys. I did some digging. I'm going to tell you exactly where Jacob Harris is going to get drafted. Getting drafted, pick 149, Cincinnati Bengals, because who was at the pro day? None other, Troy Walters, former offensive coordinator at UCF, watching Jacob Harris, knows Jacob Harris, pick 149, book it.
Not bad.
I'm not good at math, Brian. Is that late in the second round or no?
We're going to go ahead and say no if that is the pick. If he is correct.
Okay. Well, so do either of you think that Jacob Harris is the first one off the board? So, Brian, you have him late second round. Do you have any nights before that?
I think Richie Grant and Aaron Robinson will probably go first, either late first round or early in the second round.
JP?
I think Richie Grant's going to surprise some people. I think he's going to be late first round. I think he's going to be our latest first round UCF pick.
JP, I know you're also a founding member of the Marlon Williams fan club. So for both of you, I'll start with JP. Does he get drafted? Is Marlon getting his name called?
Listen, man, I don't see it happening. I try to put all the good positivity I could in the world for his 40 time. And I don't think it's going to happen for him, unfortunately. But I do think he's going to impress some people on tape. I think he's going to be picked up pretty quickly as an undrafted free agent, and I think he's going to have himself a long career. But in terms of draft, I don't see it happening.
Do you think anybody's paying that much attention to pro day 40 times?
With a guy like Marlon Williams, I think it kind of sets him apart just because there's so many guys out there. Because I think you guys have discussed this. Jacob Harris is not getting drafted if he doesn't do what he did at the pro day. So I do think for some guys it does give them an edge in terms of getting drafted over others.
Jacob Harris, the one thing you guys didn't bring up about him is his ability to contribute on special teams. He was a huge special teams player, and I think that's going to help his draft stock a little bit too. I don't know about second round, though. I kind of agree with JP, but I think Brian made their better points. Actually bringing up points, JP just kind of attacked Brian's well-being. So if I had to go winner of the debate, I'd go Peterson, but I kind of agree with JP. I think third, fourth, fifth round for Harris.
It's no doubt a shot in the dark, but you know what? Reckless speculation style. I think that's a good fun one to go with.
All right, next one for you guys. Do either of our running backs get drafted? Greg McCray, Otis Anderson. Does either of those two get drafted, Brian?
I don't think so. I think they're both going to be free agents. And if one were to get drafted, I think it would be Otis first over Greg. Both fantastic players, both bring a lot. Greg's size worries me in the NFL. The NFL scouts are really worried about size and speed, and he doesn't quite fit that build. So I think Otis would go first if he was drafted, but I don't think either of them will be.
This is going to hurt me, man, because Greg and Otis are my baby boys too, and I just don't think they're not big enough, unfortunately. And I hope they get calls as undrafted free agents, just like Adrian Killins, who just signed a 2-year contract. So I think they have that future because they're definitely talented guys. So I think they definitely have a career in the league, but I don't know if they're going to hear their name called next week, unfortunately.
Total number of guys you think get drafted?
4.
I agree. The 3 defensive backs and Jacob Harris.
Spot on.
Are you guys actually going to sit and watch what all 7 rounds is? Are you guys draft nuts? You watch all of it, or you just kind of just look the next day and see who got drafted?
My wife would kill me if I watched all 7 rounds live. So I don't think I will watch the first round, probably some of day 2 as well. But I'll keep, as you guys probably know, I'm not very far from Twitter, so I'll keep an eye on how our guys are doing.
I think it loses a little bit of luster after the second day, so I'll watch the first 2 days and then I'll check the news for the rest of the rounds.
So where are you guys on the Gus bus so far? Spring camp ending. We've got the long off season now before preseason camp, but are you feeling good about the energy Gus has brought to the program?
Well, I'll tell you this. Do you guys remember the night that the news was kind of leaking out of Gus Malzahn and UCF Twitter collectively lost their mind? I want it placed on the record. Your boy, me, was on the Gus bus from day 1. I'm never getting off the Gus bus. The guy seems to be the most competent recruiter we've ever had at UCF. I can't wait. I can't wait. I think we have nothing but success with him, and I hope that he's not just selling us a dream. I think I'm not getting fooled by coaches telling me they're going to stay here. I hope it's a place that he wants to be here for a long time. But as long as he wins here while he's here, I'm happy and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Gus has brought a lot of energy to the program. The players have really bought in as far as what we've seen so far. Of course, we'll need to see if that translates to wins on the field. But I think he has all of the deliverables as far as a head coach. It's something that we've been lacking in the experience department since George left. And I'm real excited that he's here, especially, and him combined with Timo. I think we've got good things on the horizon.
Speaking of Timo, what did you guys think of his sip and talk video the other day?
I wish we'd get more of those. I miss when DW used to give us the updates on Facebook Live and Twitter, and I enjoy those videos. I want more updates from him and what athletics is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think, the real legend that's been here throughout the years was Danny White, and I think losing him was a big blow. So I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see with Timo. But I mean, it was cool, I guess.
He needs to do a little walking, maybe with a stroller down the street.
Well, hold on. Listen, here's the walk and talk thing. So I decided to give it a go. My good friends here, Adam and Mike, sent me this wonderful Sons of UCF hat, as you can see on top of my head. And I felt so vulnerable. I felt so exposed. I'm walking in the street. I see people staring at me. I have my phone out. How do you do it? Do people come up to you and say, like, what is this guy doing? Well, what's like, because I don't know that I'll ever do it again. I just felt so embarrassed.
It's years of having done it and been in local television news. I'm not too concerned when people are staring at me. Not always one take. Yesterday we had a little issue with the leaf blowers in the neighborhood, so that the cut was right by me, and then there were leaves blowing around, so we did not go with that take.
One take, great. Did it too.
Can I ask the Sons a question? So the Sons, the name, the Sons of UCF, is that just Adam and Mike? Is Trace like a Sons in training, a Sons associate? Like how does
Well, according to some, I've just put my feet up on the coffee table and have lounged on the couch, but I don't want to go there.
Is he paying rent? Like what's going on here?
Kind of like a house guest. I think Mike called him a stepson. I don't think we fully got the paperwork figured out yet. I think there's still some legalese. Maybe we'll hire you, JP, to make this official at some point. But here's my question for both you guys. Last one from me. Realistic expectations for this season. JP, I know you're on the 15-0 camp. Realistic expectations for this upcoming season. Brian, I'll start with you. What do you realistically think from a record perspective for this season?
I'm hoping to see at least 11 wins. I think we've got some hard ones on the schedule. I'm worried about Boise coming into town with their coach that's looking to prove themselves and a really good quarterback. That's at home, so it makes me feel a little bit better about that. Louisville on the road will be a tough game as well. So if we can break 10 wins and maybe hit 11, I think that will put us somewhere near the top of the conference. And if we can get over that hump, I think we can make it into the championship game.
JP, we move?
15-0, we move. Desmond Ridder is a total fraud. Who else do we got?
They had Desmond Ridder going in some polls higher in the draft than Dylan Gabriel this year.
Yeah, those people are out of their mind. I mean, some people also say Jacob Harris is going in the second round. But Desmond Ritter, total fraud. We're not losing to a team from Idaho. Okay, this is 15-0. Write it down. Put it in Vegas odds. 15-0. We're going. We move.
15-0, and Jacob Harris pick 149 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Those are our two. Jot them down from JP. JP, how do folks find you on Twitter, please?
JP Gilbert. You might get really upset with the things I tweet, but JP Gilbert, and maybe you'll block me. I don't know.
And Brian?
At Brian W. Peterson on Twitter. And I would like to point out that I believe JP said that Jacob Harris was going to get himself drafted after his pro day performance. So, just throwing that out there.
You've won him over a little bit. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live and for all of your support always.
Appreciate it.
Go Knights.
Thanks, guys.
Go Knights.
Charge on. All right. Mike, I like you scoring this, weighing in on their conversation.
I still don't know who won.
You called it early, Mike. You really called that early. That was an early call on your part.
Yeah, I mean, I think JP is correct, but I think Brian had the better debate. So I don't know who to give the win to. But I like that both guys use their real names on Twitter. They're not hiding behind anything. They're not JP182353 and Brian 8342. They use their real names. You know where to find the guys. They're not afraid to come out and show their opinions.
Well, then we'll segue to our next guest, who goes by at UCF17RJ. He is Ron Johnson. He is an original Knight from the 1979 UCF Knights, a safety on that team. He snagged the first interception in UCF history, a good friend of the program. Ron, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. And I'll tell you, of all of the interesting things about you, the fact that you have never missed a UCF home game, both as player and as spectator, except for one time in the intensive care, that is quite an accomplishment.
It just means I've been around a long time. There's a handful of us old guys, but I say this, and luckily now there used to only be me who used to say I was the big man in the world. And what's really cool, and I mean in all sincerity, there are people who really, really consider themselves fans now, where 30 years ago they didn't. And I'm just glad I'm part of many, many like you guys. And I think it's really, really cool. I'm just a self-proclaimed father of UCF just because I'm old and all this sort of stuff. But it's so cool, not just because of technology, but what you guys do. And I think you guys see me pimping you guys on Twitter all the time, and I'm always retweeting everything that you guys do. It's good for the brand. I think it's awesome. I'm the little old school guy, and when people find out how old I am, I talk, really, don't you have anything better to do? And I'm like, no, I don't. Just UCF. My wife, kids, and dogs. And that, yeah, I do. I couldn't enjoy this more, and what you guys are doing, I think, is absolutely awesome. And it's helping. It's helping the cause.
Well, Ron, you have the distinction of having the first ever interception in UCF history. And I looked through the archives. I could not find any video of it. So you can make up any story you want right now and tell us that you hurdled 6 offensive players and one-handed catch on the sidelines. But can you take us through the first ever UCF interception and what you remember about that play?
I can. And here's what's interesting. I'll not answer your question by answering is it's funny when I'm talking to people that are 20, 30, 40 or whatever. And I guess they think once you get past a certain age that all of a sudden you can't be a valid fan anymore. I wake up every morning at 4 go to the gym, work out. I'm still a football player now. I'm 62 and a half years of age. I just got more experience behind me and all these things like playing at UCF, graduating, having daughters graduate from there, going to all the games, being a booster and all that. So I'm just entrenched in this stuff. But to answer your question on the interception, it was really kind of cool. There were 14,188 fans at the Citrus Bowl, Tangerine Bowl at the time. We were playing Fort Benning, which was basically not only the military guys, but a lot of guys from West Point. And they had first team All-American quarterback and a second team tight end named Clenny Brundage. And they were both, one of them was a 8th round draft pick, Cowboys, the quarterback was. Anyway, their first play, I mean, I knew it wasn't, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure the Clenny. So The first play, it's 1st and 10. We had got the ball punted after 3 downs, of course, but just a little out, and I stepped in front of it. It was a kind of a bad pass, but it came right to me. I got 7 yards and everything, and we ended up winning the game 7-6. But my teammate Doug Gatewood, who's one of the best players we've ever had there, knows hard. He had 2 interceptions that game, but I did get the first one. That was kind of cool to tell my kids I got the first one and all that. And actually, if you want to see a picture, can you all see that?
We can.
Oh yeah.
Billy Giovanetti, Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Yes.
That's me. One of the few ones with me healthy, but this was Fort Benning. You see the big tangerine in the Tangerine Bowl. Anyway, one of the few cool pictures, but that was pretty neat because nobody knew how many people were going to show up at the game and all that sort of stuff. And back then, the legal drink was 18, and they sold beer at the Citrus Bowl, so we had a lively crowd of 2,000, like 40. For a lot.
Ron, on our show this week, we discussed the top 3 coaches in UCF history. Now, admittedly, we don't know much about your guy, Don Jonas. Tell us a little bit about Coach Jonas the way you know him.
I know him very well. Just saw him at a funeral this past Saturday. Tom Bland, wide receiver coaches in the beginning. Well, the coaches in the correct order is George O'Leary, Gene McDowell, and Scott Frost. And I knew all 3 of them pretty well. Gene very well, really well. But Don was probably not equipped to be a head coach. He was a phenomenal athlete. He was working for the city. They found he took the job for free. He got the city allowed him to do it because they thought a football team in the city would actually help promote tourism to Central Florida and all that sort of stuff. So he was making his $32,000 out of 6, and he got off at 3:00 and came out and practiced. He was one of the better athletes I've ever seen. Matter of fact, anytime we faced a good quarterback, the upcoming week, he was always a scout team quarterback. He treated us like grown men, and we weren't. We came from a lot of different backgrounds and so forth. We had guys that were 18 and probably somebody that was 28. But it was a lot of fun, and I think he treated us fair, probably too fair. He wasn't everybody's best buddy, but he was all about offense and defense to the other coaches and things. But he was quite a unique person. I've known him for 42 years, and like I said, I just talked to him Saturday, had lunch with him and everything. He's doing well enough, but absolute stud in his day. And he could play basketball, play golf, play softball, and even when he was 50 and 60 years old, he could do all that.
I saw some video that you were recently at the UCF alumni, the Varsity Nights golf tournament. And have you had opportunity to meet Coach Malzahn? And if so, your impressions and opinions?
Yeah, I'll tell you the impression. I called the school for that and for the golf outing. And I said, I want to come out to a practice. I want to know the protocols and everything. And all the coaches through the years, maybe I'm old, have always treated me really well. But I got Alice on the phone, and she said, what's your name? When did you play? That's all we need to know. So I went out there the next morning, and they had the lanyard that had your gear on it. They said, you can wear this anytime you're on, you come to any and every practice. They gave me this Nike dry fit shirt and this wristband. And she said, Coach Malzahn will be out with you in the morning. I'd like to speak with you. And I'm like, I came by to get a pass to walk on. Malzahn came in the office. He goes, I only got a minute, but Ron, I wanted to meet you, which obviously they asked each other, or I told him who I was, sat there and talked for 3 minutes, right? Practice. And I just thought, what a class act. He didn't have to do it. I know he wanted to do it. I thanked him, and I told him, which I've said the same thing to Terry Mahajer, because I do believe this. Our UCF, where we are, all we've been through, the timing, all of the stuff, I think Terry Mahajer is the perfect key for us now, and I hope you guys agree. And I honestly believe now that Gus Malzahn is the perfect coach for us. Obviously, his history and all that sort of stuff. His age, his wife loves Florida. He got a boatload of money from Auburn. I think this could be the mother lode. So I could not be more of a fan. I think he's as real as it long. His family is, and obviously his, offensive prowess. It just couldn't fit better with UCF and our athletic type of players that we got. It's just a perfect marriage. I wouldn't trade him for any staff in the country. I wouldn't. Hope you guys wouldn't need.
No, I think we're all. I mean, considering where we were in January and Hypo was leaving, and we didn't know where we were going to be. I think where we are now is just light years ahead. I think where we thought we would be. So we actually end up, I think, winning on that deal. But you've been to, according to Trace, in every home game except for one in the history of UCF. I assume I think I know the number one game for you, but I don't want to make assumptions. So the best home game you've ever attended was what?
Well, there's a one. Hey, the one was, of course, the reservation, the Cabanas reservation for 6. Boom, with UCF and USF and Black Friday there at home. That game, for what it just the national audience, the weather, the crowd, everything. It was just such a culmination. Now, I always start from 1979 to now, how far we've come. So it just means more to me. And there was another game back in the day, us against Troy State, I believe it was back in '87, with about 33 in the Citrus Bowl when we got some noise penalties. And I've been to every single college, Division 1A stadium in the country, and probably about 200 other ones. And it was probably as loud as I've ever heard. So those two games back in '87, because Troy was they beat us up pretty bad for the most part. And then we started, had a pretty good rivalry with them. And they were, in the Division 2, they were pretty big. So those two games were the biggest and best. But the game I missed was the Memphis game, the overtime game where Shaquille came and rushed the quarterback, and we got I think Trey Neal maybe intercepted the ball on the 2 or 3 yard line. I was sitting in the hospital with a bunch of tubes out of me, but I did get out of the hospital for the Peach Bowl. Under had to sign a waiver that I was going to have to pay an $87,000 hospital bill if I got readmitted. So I drove up to Atlanta with a tube sticking out of my stomach, all 206 to 49 pounds to watch the Peach Bowl, because I knew we were going to win that game.
Ron, today's players, they're kind of treated like celebrities on social media. What about back in your day? Did walking around campus, were you the big man on campus because you were on the football team, or did people not even know that we had a football team?
Well, interesting you say that, because I roomed with a wrestler, and he really he wasn't a nice guy anyway, but it was a friend put us there. It was kind of a big deal. I mean, as stupid as it is, I mean, we were really nobody. The professors knew you were a football player. Most of them didn't particularly like that. I did well in school. I made the dean's list or the president's list all but 1 quarter in my whole college career. So I was lucky. I had an easy major, but luckily I did pretty well in school. But yeah, we sat together in the cafeteria Saga, and we'd have sometimes 10, 20, 30, 40 people eating together, and you knew it. And some guys were jerks, and I hope but yeah, it was really pretty cool. I mean, the parties they would invite us, whether it was a sorority or fraternity kind of thing. It was the biggest deal that I had ever seen at that time. At 19 years old, I thought it was pretty cool. So were we big men on campus? We probably not as big as we thought we were, but it was pretty cool. And people treated us really well. Wrestling was on its way out. Basketball was still kind of the big thing on campus, but never came close. Even once we had our first game, even the enthusiasm, the crowd, and all that sort of stuff. And then in the second year, we had a homecoming, and it always was during basketball season. So some of the other athletes didn't necessarily appreciate all of the other stuff, but the fans football's just easier to be a fan of, whether you even know anything about it or not. Pretty cool. It was very good.
You have a lot of fun at the expense of our neighbors over in Tampa, and you have a connection, right? You have family that goes to the Cow College. I'm not sure quite how you deal with it, though, but you had fun at their spring game.
I did. Can I tell you the reason why I dislike them so much, and it's real? It's not. I was back there when they first started. I had about a 45-minute meeting with Leroy Selman, a one-on-one in his office over there. I was the Letterman's Club president here, and I was seeking some advice and stuff. He was nice enough to talk to me. He thought we were the biggest joke, and we're like a flag football team. I mean, he could have cared less. I mean, he was respectful to me, and as a former player, I mean, he was nice, but wildly disrespectfully. And then when we were coming along and trying to get into the Big East, I hope you guys know what Miss Crankshaft did, and I actually saw one of them. The to the Big East, it was so damning. It was terrible. They cost us. They set us back years. Not good for them to getting in, but they absolutely punched us in the mouth. So the hate is real because they damaged the school I love and the program I love. But why am I attached to it now? My daughter, I have one daughter who just graduated from UCF, and she's a nurse, full-time nurse, just started in January at Advent Health. My other one is the much sought after dance degree when they don't have one at UCF. So she's at USF. So I cut back and spend whatever, $25,000 a year over there. And so as if you guys read my stuff, my childish stuff, I just crack and bust on them all the time. Because we've been dog stomping them for years, and they were brutal to us. If you all remember, they were killing us pretty badly in the beginning. They were so far ahead of us. So yeah, I beat up on them all, but I went over there with a shirt bought me. Somebody from here bought me a shirt said UCF on with my Twitter handle on it. So I wore it over there, and they treated me like gold. The big giant doofy mascot came up and got me head sodas and the water, and the people were coming up and like, oh, you're mostly because they didn't realize probably how old I was. Like, oh, sir, you're really a nice guy. But it was 3 hours. It was a lot more fun to teach. I mean, I did watch the practice and they sucked, so that's good. But the people were really nice to me. The 12 people in the stands, they all talked to me, but they didn't have anybody either. So they're going to suck this year.
Ron, I've seen your social media though, and I've seen you in pictures with cow shirts on. How do you clean afterwards? Do you just bleach your body afterwards? How do you get that cow stuff off of you after you wear a shirt like that?
Uric acid. It burns.
Okay.
No, I do have the shirt that I wear when I'm over there. I will go out mostly so my car doesn't get scratched up because I got UCF crap all over it. But if we go out to first watch or something, I don't want my daughter to think I'm such a douchebag that I'm not there. So she's fine with me, but she's not even a big USF fan to tell you the truth. But she doesn't. She only has UCF stuff. So I just do it to make her not feel bad. So I get over it.
All right, my serious question. So you've obviously seen a lot of great quarterback play at UCF. Obviously, the guy behind me whose jersey's hanging up is one of the best here in Dante Culpepper. In Ron's opinion, the best quarterback in UCF history is who?
Dante Culpepper. Close. When I say that, Mackenzie Milton, what he did was so unique, but in a unique style. It was just different. Dante Culpepper, which I went to every away game for 4 years. His first 12 completions of first 12 passes against Eastern Kentucky, everything. I've never seen a guy command the locker room, the practice field, the weight room, study sessions without saying a word. His presence was one of the most dominating things. And I do want to tell you this thing. We were at North Louisiana or Louisiana Monroe, whatever the team was, and we beat him on a boat race from about 100-0. So this was during his junior year when the Heisman kind of pretty heavy there. And we had our sports information director sitting right behind him, and they had over 400 Little League kids coming, Pop Warner kids and all that, sitting in their uniforms after the game. And since I flew with the team, I had nothing to do but sit there. Anyway, he did all that, and he was talking to kids like, stay in school, what are you doing? I mean, he talked to every one of them for like 5 or 10 seconds. Anyway, so all the other kids have already showered, and they got their boxes and all that sort of stuff. And Dante's just he has his shoes off, but his uniform's still on. And he runs back there, and he sees all these guys coming out of the locker room, throwing their bags next to the truck, to the equipment truck. And I'm 50 feet behind him, and I hear him, "What the hell are you doing?" And he starts grabbing these and putting them in the truck. And then one at a time, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players come out of the locker room. I mean, even stuff like that. Who does? And that's a leader. But if you needed 4 yards, he could get you 5. If you needed 45, he could get you 46. His passes from his receivers were the most catchable balls, no matter what the situation. Needed to be low and outside because of a defender or a soft touch or whatever. He had a big arm, had the tight spiral, and receivers, one of the great receivers, told me the most catchable ball because it came in at a perfect spiral, which means it's not wobbling and it touches all your fingers at the same time. Whether it's a long bomb or a rainbow pass, a hitch. I've never seen a person have that much touch being that size of guy before. So I love what our quarterbacks was doing. Ryan Snyder was a gunslinger and a lot of here, but nobody like Dante Culpepper. And he probably could have played 6 other positions if he chose to do that as well. Yeah. But I hope Dylan's my favorite after this year.
Last month, I put together a March Madness bracket of the greatest plays in UCF history. The only play I could find from your era was the Bobby Joe playing touchdown, and it was a grainy video. Do you have any home videos? Do you know anybody that has videos from those first couple years that we can share with everybody?
There was a guy, me, who I had it all, and I bequeathed it to the University of Central Florida Library, and it's in there under my name and all that stuff. So I have got all the first game. Nice picture. Yeah, that's actually my high school jersey because my game jersey was ripped, and that's a much cooler jersey, isn't it? So, jersey. And we had 3 players wear that jersey on picture day on the same. I thought it was cool. But yeah, the library, they've got my uniform with blood still on it, my blood. They had it in the library, in a plexiglass thing in the front library for about 3 years. Back in, I don't know when it was, 2000. Somebody there is in the archives, all the stuff, the 16 millimeter, these giant reels. But yeah, all the films. Someone stole them from the school and gave them to me. I'm not going to say his name, but I didn't do it, but I had them. So I bequeathed them to the school, and they're all archived, and it's all there for posterity's sake.
You got a mission, Mike. You got to get to the library and get on that project. Ron, it has been a pleasure, as always, talking with you and hearing some of the great history of UCF. You can find Ron Johnson at UCF17RJ, even though that may offend Mike. That is his Twitter handle. He is a must follow on Twitter. Ron, thanks so much for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks.
Got to love those shoulder pads in that jersey. Well,
I will tell you this: Ron's man cave tour was much better than Andrew Glukoff's closet tour. So I'll take that any day of the week.
I was worried we were going to find Andrew when Ron started moving around.
Next time we got to get him to play those drums. That looked like a pretty sweet set he had back there.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Ron, for joining us. He is a good guy and enjoyable to talk to, and he knows everybody and knows a lot of stories. And how he can go over to Tampa and go to their spring game, I don't know. I deal with them for 1 game a year when they're playing in the real game. I can't imagine going over there just to watch the spring game. So appreciate it.
Probably need a few good laughs, right? So, a couple good laughs, and go over there and check out the football team.
It's an exercise in mental
beers.
toughness. Exercise in mental toughness for sure. I don't know that I have the fortitude to pull that off.
NCAA announcing some rules changes today. Must go for 2 in the second overtime, and then still tied. Third overtime begins a 2-point shootout. Instead of placing the ball at the 25, you got to go for 2. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, I saw somebody post on Twitter that this is basically Josh Heupel's dream because he had the best 2-point place ever and couldn't run plays from the 25. So I'll steal that joke. It may actually have been JP, actually, if I remember that joke correctly. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's action, right? I think, the NFL style, obviously, is play a whole nother quarter, which can be kind of boring football. It's action, right, to keep you entertained, to keep you engaged. I don't like when we get too gimmicky with these things, right? Because then it sort of takes us away from being actual football, and it gets kind of gimmicky at that point. So I'm not in love with some of the gimmicks as you get to the third overtime. I don't know how often that happens, but I get how it's entertaining. It's fast paced. It's a more of a shootout mentality. I'm fine with it, but the gimmicky stuff after a while can get a little annoying.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. I like football. I like all phases of football. You're taking out the special teams. You're taking out. Kind of almost taking out the defense. I mean, field position, that whole thing. I'd rather them just play straight up. I like the way the NFL does it. First one to score wins. That's the way I like the way the old school NFL did it. Sudden death. And I know they like to change everything because of whatever reasons. I guess they think it's more popular, but I don't know. Call me old school, I guess.
Get off my lawn, Mike. That's what you sound like there. One of the other changes that they announced, I think the finer details need to be worked out, and I'm not quite sure how those are going to be worked out, but the framework is now in place to penalize faking injuries, which UCF fans know all too well from some recent games in recent years.
Yeah, it's going to be like flopping in the NBA, right? It's going to be a judgment call after a while, and I don't know how you're going to know this. I think the better thing should be if you're injured, you have to sit out for a number of plays afterwards, right? So if you fall to the ground and have to be helped off, you have to sit out for the rest of that series or 5 plays after, whatever that case might be. I think that's probably one of the better things. Although, sure, you run a scrub on there to fall on the ground and run it back out, and that's his only action for the year. I don't know how you govern this. I do think you need to understand more about it, but it strikes me as the flopping in the NBA rule. How do you really judge it? How do you know for sure? It's going to be a judgment call, and no one's ever going to get that kind of stuff right.
Yeah, it'd have to be serious for guys not to do it still. I mean, if you said they're out for the next quarter, maybe people wouldn't do it anymore. But I still think they're going to find a way to get around it. They haven't said what the exact rules are, and when that comes out, it'll be interesting. They're still going to find loopholes on how to figure out how to stop the clock.
That's true. You can count on that. But the pace of play in college football has got to improve. 4-hour games are just a challenge. By the way, though, when any of our fans complain about noon starts and it's too hot, just remember Ron. Only game he missed was in the intensive care. Signs a waiver to go to the Peach Bowl. That's diehard.
Well, on the bright side, without being on CBS Sports Network, we don't have the 5-hour games, right? Because their commercials are 6 hours long every time. So maybe that's a plus for us in the long run. I think the other interesting one, Trace, one of the rules you wrote down on our show prep was a more emphasis on taunting, and I'm curious what that looks like too, because listen, football today, there's any number of guys after a play, they're getting up and getting in guys' faces. My least favorite thing is when the quarterback throws the ball 10 yards out of bounds and the DB gets up and does this stuff like it had anything to do with it. Is all that considered taunting? I think that's going to be interesting too, because if you start getting some of these phantom taunting flags, which I assume is going to be 15-yard variety penalties, I definitely want to see what that looks like, because I think any play, you can probably pick out some guy who's doing something that you probably could say borders the line of taunting.
According to the NCAA, it will be a point of emphasis for officials to penalize any taunting action directed toward an opponent. Seems kind of subjective.
Who taunts their teammate, though? I mean, like that's pretty much what taunting is. So I'm curious what that's going to look like, because all we need is somebody making a big hit and getting up and standing over the quarterback and clapping his hand 3 times, and all of a sudden flags are flying everywhere. I think that's going to be tough for these kids, because you want to get excited after a play. You're jumping after a big play. You're yelling. You're screaming. Another judgment call that this one concerns me.
We've seen discipline be an issue with this team for the last few years under Heupel. I guess you got to go back to O'Leary when we weren't penalized that much. But let's see how Malzahn affects the team this way and keeps them in line, because they're going to have to set strict rules of what is taunting and what is not taunting, and then see how the guys react to it.
Mike, do you know what Auburn's teams under Gus Malzahn were like in the penalty department?
No, I know. But I'm sure somebody can go back and tell me.
I just wanted to ask you before you asked me, because I didn't have the answer. I just figured it was going to come up, and I don't know the answer.
Well played, Trey. You're learning, Trace. You might just be a son after all.
Well, let's shift gears from football to the other kind of football, men's soccer. 2 very exciting games, the victory over SMU and the three-peat, winning the championship, the conference tournament over Tulsa. This is a three-peat for the Knights men's soccer, winning the American. They now face number 17, James Madison. UCF moves up to number 18. Sunday, May 2nd, 5 o'clock. No TV announced for this one yet, which is, sort of what happened with volleyball, where it wasn't clear what was going to happen. James Madison, they've only allowed 2 goals this season, a more condensed season, but their goalkeeper, TJ Bush, number 1 in the nation in save percentage and goals against. So he is going to be a formidable challenge. Had opportunity to speak with head coach Scott Calabrese following the announcement of the opponent, and his team is battle tested.
You got to find a way to win, and we did. And we did where we were under a lot of pressure, and so we didn't control those games in the way that we normally do, because I do feel like we generally have a lot of the ball, and we have more control in different ways, but we defended really well close to our box and defended really well in our box. We had great play from our goalkeeper. Like when you look at it, we found a way to win those games.
A bit of an understatement, by the way. On we had good goalkeeping play. Goalkeeper Yannick Edel was an acrobat. He made so many saves, and he was all over the place. And following the win over Tulsa on Saturday, I asked him, what is his legacy at UCF?
It's a big word. I think my legacy is just to inspire the people around me, take on the young guys, achieve well academically, athletically, and in the community. And that's all it is. That's how I was, that's how I am, and how I will be in the future. Is I want to give back to the environments that gives me everything I need to be successful.
Don't be surprised if this one comes down to these goalkeepers, right? We may see another PK situation. You can't imagine either team is going to give up much in the way of goals, and they've got some time to heal up. But competitive first round matchup for them. But you like their chances with Yannick in the net.
Yeah, Trace, I want to pull a mic on you. You mentioned TJ Bush, 93% save percentage. Do we know how many shots on goal he's faced? And I only asked that question to say Mike knows that. Is that more of a, the defense is really stout for James Madison and they're not getting shots on goal, or is it, he's out there staying on his head? I think that's interesting to figure out because that could obviously be tactical. But I think we should start here. How lucky are we? And he doesn't get a ton of credit. Scott Calabrese has, I don't know if quietly is the word, Trace, but has built a really solid UCF men's soccer program. And we talk about coaches, we talk about obviously the football, we talk about Johnny Dawkins, Coach Abe. We don't mention Scott Calabrese all that often as one of the top coaches at UCF, but three straight conference championships into the tournament again, a formidable squad. And this was a squad that started off pretty slow. I think some folks wrote them off and said, hey, this is probably not the year. And look where we are now. He might not get enough credit for the job he's done at UCF.
And the way Yannick played the other day, that guy was unbelievable against SMU. And you can tell he's the leader of this team. Before he went into overtime, he went out and he got in the circle and he gave everybody a good talking to. And I loved it, man. He fired everybody up and then he backed it up. Coming right out of there. He made like 3 diving saves all over the place. I loved it, and I hope he can keep it going, man. Get a hot goalie. Just like in hockey and soccer, man, a hot goalie take you a long way. So hopefully he can take us for a nice run here.
Well, I did not have the answer to how many shots against him. I did do a little research this weekend. As a longtime listener of the Sons of UCF podcast, I know that you like to end your interviews with some rapid-fire questions. So, Adam, if you could keep score on some rapid-fire questions I have for Mike about James Madison. What's their nickname, Mike?
The Fighting John Waynes.
The
Dukes.
The Dukes. Right. Ding. Where is James Madison located?
Oh, Virginia?
We'll give you that. Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Oh, what are James City too? I knew that.
What are James Madison's colors?
Oh, give me purple.
Yes.
That's right.
That's partial credit. Purple and gold. So you get half a point for that. I think half a point. What league is James Madison in?
Colonial.
Colonial. Very good. You're going to really impress me with this one if you know it. What is the name of James Madison's mascot?
Oh, it's not John Wayne, is it? Because that would actually be good. I have no idea.
Duke Dog. Duke Dog.
I got to tell you, I was lucky to get those other ones were lucky guesses.
4 to 5 is not bad, Mike. 4 to 5 is not bad. Yeah.
Even with some partials in there, you pulled some out there I didn't expect. Pretty good job.
I think haven't we had a couple of former UCF football players transfer to JM? Is that Juwan Hamilton and Mason Chiloa? Right? Yeah. Is that where Mason Chiloa went as well?
I don't remember where Mason went, but that's where he went. Jamal went, yeah. So
the Juwan Hamilton Bowl on May 2nd.
Yeah. And Juwan was our number 1 back going into that 2017 season. Remember that? And we got hurt on the very first game.
ACL, yeah.
So some men's basketball notes to pass along. Colin Smith entering the transfer portal. Of course, he didn't play last season, not medically cleared. Not sure what this means, if another school will pick him up, if he's just, considering all of his options. It would have been nice to have him back, but I don't think with him being out on senior night recognized on senior night that we expected that he would return.
Yeah, we do reckless speculation around here. This one feels a little bit different because obviously it's health related, but you got to think that perhaps he's looking to find a place that will allow him to play next season. I don't know what his medical issues or his health issues are. Maybe he's looking for a place to get some different treatment or get clearance to play. I don't want to speculate that because I don't have that inside knowledge, but it feels like he's maybe looking for a spot to play next year and hoping to find somebody. And I hope he does. I mean, he was a great player for us at UCF. Obviously, we wish him well with his health. Hopefully, it works out. We've seen situations like this. Chris Bosh comes to mind where you're just looking for a chance to play someplace. Hopefully, it's nothing that serious, but that kind of, to me, that's a little bit of what this sort of reminds me of.
Now that we've transitioned to basketball, I just want to take this time to announce that I am entering the NBA draft along with everybody else, apparently. I don't understand. Like, do you
CJ Walker, the latest.
I can't wait for Mike's evaluation. I'm going to need to see Mike's evaluation from Draft Scouts if I could. Mike's back in the day. Mike's the only guy I knew that played pickup basketball with a hat on every single time. Baseball cap on, pickup basketball.
Take a cat in the hat.
That's right.
You have nothing to lose, though, Mike. You have nothing to lose. You get an evaluation, and you get some information that you can take back with you. Of course, CJ may decide that he wants to, really try for the NBA, but he's got several weeks before he has to make that decision. I think it's a no-brainer to get that feedback.
I get it, and I understand why he's doing it, and I think everybody should do it. I wasn't really joking. I think everybody should do that. But do we have to actually announce that we're doing it and kind of make it seem like we're leaving UCF? And is that really part of the thing? Is you actually have to make an announcement? Can you just enter your name and nobody has to know that they're evaluating you, and then you're back with the team?
Well, you're really not going to like name, image, and likeness, are you, when kids are using their social media to announce everything?
It seems like the NBA has a chance to make this rule better because, to Mike's point, these kids just want feedback. What do I have to work on? But to go through the process to declare, to get that feedback, it seems like there's a lane here. I know former UCF football player Joey Grant, he has a virtual sort of scouting service now where you submit your tapes and a bunch of former players give you feedback. Maybe there's something there for an entrepreneurial idea or something for the NBA to do, because to Mike's point, this does seem a bit, idiotic that you have to declare to get feedback to say, work on your mid-range jumper to come back to UCF to work on your mid-range jumper. There's got to be a better way to do that.
CJ, send your tape to Mike. He'll give you an evaluation.
I like the way the kid plays, man. He hustles. He's all over the boards. You got to work on the offense, which actually the last couple of games of the year, his offense started to come around. If he can get that cleaned up, he's an all-around player. Give him another year, maybe another 2. I think he's got a shot. But let's see what the NBA guys say.
Wrapping up with a couple of other notes. Softball, a little bit of a struggle. They dropped 3, and then in a bizarre fourth game, 0-0. UCF with runners on first and third with 1 out, but because they hit 2 o'clock, they ended the game. That is a ridiculous rule that needs to change. If you start an inning, finish an inning. I don't understand all of that. And then their game that was highly touted with the U.S. women's national team, inclement weather, dashed that, so they go to Memphis. None of these games, by the way, on ESPN Plus fail by Memphis, so that none of them are going to be broadcast. Baseball beats the Cows 3 out of 4. Colton Gordon, AAC Pitcher of the Week. They've got a tough one. They go to ECU. ECU is top 10 ranked. Where you didn't want to go to Cincinnati and split, if you could come out of Greenville with a split, I think you'd take it. ECU did not play last weekend because of COVID issues with their series and against Houston. So, you hope you can get 2 out of 4. They're playing a little bit better, but the win over the Cows helped them clinch the war on I-4. So that was at least a good thing.
Yeah, we warned them last week on the show that we cannot continue to split series against teams like the Cows. Luckily, they heeded our warning. This week on the show, Mike warned that they must at least split with ECU. So hopefully Lovelady and the boys are listening again. Don't make Mike come down there and talk to you guys. We at least need a split at ECU.
The key is going to be Friday night. Colton Gordon needs to set the tone, go out with a solid performance, save the bullpen a little bit, get that first win, and then you get 1 out of 3 somewhere else on the weekend.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. Doubleheader on Friday, so an early afternoon start, and Colton Gordon has been on the wrong end of like a 2-1, and so the bats need to show some life as well against a talented ECU pitching staff. You guys had on episode 129 of the pod Chris Martin, a fun guest. I've enjoyed talking to him on opportunities that I've had to interview him. He's a fun time when you have him on the show.
Yeah, I don't really have a reason to put this back. I'm gonna put this graphic back up. Thanks to Ron Johnson there. But listen, Chris was. Here's what I'll tell you. You'll learn about spaghetti dinners with George O'Leary. The real reason we lost to South Carolina. Why he was almost a Martian. Who he's the godfather of their child, a person that we are still looking for, frankly, here in the Sons of UCF. And if that's not enough to get you to listen to Chris Martin, I don't really know what else is. He gave us a good breakdown of Steve Spurrier's coaching tenure with the Orlando Apollos and his thoughts on Steve Spurrier. But what such a nice guy, man. He's obviously he's got a lot of great stories, a lot of great perspective. We definitely enjoyed spending time with Chris. If you haven't heard the Chris interview, go check that out. It's available wherever you get your podcast.
I love the Chris interview this week. He did it all, and he's a team player. He moved on to tight end for a couple games. He'll do whatever the team needed. And that was a cool story, too. He ended up catching a touchdown out there, and a very cool guy. I loved it.
Guys, we will be on next week head-to-head with the NFL draft, though there won't be too many picks that take place over the course of that hour, 8 to 9. Mike, prepare yourself to announce some picks. I'll call upon you. I'll give you a countdown clock, and you can bring us the Jacksonville pick. I wonder if it'll be a quarterback, maybe from Clemson. Who knows? And maybe, wouldn't it be nice, though, if we could talk about a UCF guy being drafted in that 8 to 9 o'clock hour? Maybe Jacob Harris.
Hold on, let me get JP Gilbert back on the line. We can settle this now.
Or they have to 149. The way they run that draft, it's going to take an hour. They only go through about 6 picks, even though we all know who the first 5 picks are going to be.
I do like, though, JP's prediction, pick 149, Jacob Harris to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, that's as good as it gets in a prediction.
JP does his research. He's well researched. He's well versed, and it makes some sense. Obviously, Troy Walters was the wide receiver coach at UCF, offensive coordinator. Obviously, now the wide receiver coach at Cincinnati. So maybe even Marlon has a chance as maybe a late round pick, undrafted free agent. Maybe there's an option there for him as well.
Yeah, Marlon, I think, is a guy. Everybody's counting him out, but it may be better. It may be one of those situations where it's better to pick your spot as an undrafted free agent, but I wouldn't count him out getting drafted late. I think somebody's going to take a liking to him. If they look at the game tape, it's a no-brainer.
Well, we have to decide every year, at least one, maybe 2 UCF guys go to Jacksonville. So who are the UCF guys going to Jacksonville this year? Anybody have any guesses?
Well, Shaquille is there now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was Koulibaly. It was Nelson. Nate, that would be yeah. See, Urban's a wild card. I don't know what Urban would want from an offense, but that could be a spot for Marlon for sure.
Yeah, get there with Trevor Lawrence and then have a 10-year career together and build that relationship. The whole key for a receiver is to go somewhere where there's a quarterback that's in place and can get you the ball.
A little shout out to our new athletic director, Terry Mahajer, for the boom response to my walk and talk where I channeled him with a little sip of water. I'm glad to see him doing things like that. Now he's just got to start moving, though. As soon as he starts moving, that's more competition in the walk and talk department. But
yeah, Trace, are you concerned about this at all? I mean, first Sammy Kincaid was kind of sniffing on your block, and now Mahajer's getting in the game. Are you at all concerned about your status as the walk and talk king?
I don't know if I'm concerned. It's JP Gilbert, though, that sent a shiver up my spine. He was so cool and collected as he was feeling vulnerable out on the streets of Central Florida. So, I like to see Mr. Mahajer move around a little bit. If he needs any pointers, be happy to hang out with him and walk around.
I love that Mahajer actually recognized us. Hey, Sons of UCF, Mahajer came out, and you're representing Sons of UCF. He actually commented on it and everything. That's all I asked for a couple weeks ago.
Well, I think that he may have recognized me. I'm not sure he's yet recognized you. That's maybe a thing that UCF's not ready to do yet.
Yeah, that's possible. But the son's name was in the tweet, and you were talking about us, so that counts. Actually, you mentioned my name during that video. So there you go.
I must tell you, taking you back to our, 23 minutes and 55 seconds on Sunday, that Britt really gets fired up by you, Mike. And she would say, "Got to beat Mike. Got to beat Mike." And beat Mike we did. And I want to thank Jan and Brett for sharing that space along the Riverwalk in downtown Sanford and walking with us for raising money for scholarships. And, of course, all the folks with the Alumni Association, the Palm Beach chapter, for allowing us to have a little bit of fun with this over the last couple of weeks. It was a good time, and we did it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be motivation for anybody. So I'm glad you guys had a good time doing it.
All right, guys, it has been fun. Want to thank our guests, Brian and JP and Ron, and all of you for watching. For Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Charge on.